Hey Taurus, are you guys getting strong like we talked about last time? I hope you are. This Libra new moon energy, first let me say I'm sorry I didn't get to you guys sooner. In the future, I'll do my best to make sure all the videos are up before the actual moon cycle kicks in. But again, keep in mind we are talking about like part of a cycle, right? We're talking about the growth phase of the moon from new to full. So we're talking about increased potential, growth, things coming in, and right now we're kind of like laying the plans. It's a lot of preparation. It's a lot of possibilities. It's potential. It's creativity, right? That's what we're getting here. And with the Libra energy, Libra is all about balance and harmony and relationships. So for all the signs, there's been a lot to deal with when it comes to relationships and creativity, right? With you guys, last time we talked about kind of fulfilling your needs, right? And we talked about like if you weren't getting that, like kind of start to give it to yourself, that you needed to kind of feed yourself to get strong. For the Libra moon for you guys, what we're going to be seeing is like your relationship kind of to your work and how that kind of reflects on you and how you feel about yourself, right? So right off the bat, we got the Prince of Swords as a central situation. I'm a little surprised to see a card like this come up because Taurus is such like a steadfast, kind of slow and steady and sure kind of sign, right? But with this like Moon and Jupiter, Jupiter entering Scorpio and Mercury entering Scorpio, and then Uranus opposing the Moon, there's a lot of like tumultuousness, right? There's a lot of like things coming up to the surface. Like people are having to face their demons, people are having to get honest with themselves. Things are coming to light. And for you guys, like, it's again that needs thing, right? Like about seeing what these situations you're going through are bringing up to you in terms of like your emotional state. And Taurus is like most of the earth signs, you guys aren't super emotional, right? So when you do get in your emotions, like it gets a little crazy, it gets a little overwhelming, it maybe makes you like act out, right? Taurus, you guys can get like a little dark when you're upset, right? Like kind of lashing out. Like right now, this is what I feel like Taurus is. It's like you guys are kind of like not your usual steady selves. Like the Prince of Swords is the Knight of Air, right? He moves fast and often without thinking, which it can be good, but like I don't feel like that's right for you guys, right? Sometimes that energy is like the push you need to break away from something, but right now it feels like the more reckless, like not thought out aspect of that card. And what did I start off by saying? We're talking about work here, right? Like Eight of Pentacles, it's not just work, it's about like work that brings you pleasure, work that makes you happy. So I feel like right now maybe Taurus, like you guys might not be killing it in the career sector. Like maybe like you're doing good, but like not up to your standards, if that makes sense. Like I'm not saying you guys are fucking being whack, because like you guys are not going to be that, right? You're Taurus, you're Venus, like you are about your material world and you're like the things that sustain you. But I feel like a sense of dissatisfaction, like a sense of like maybe like not knowing where you're going wrong, like spinning your wheels a little bit. Like this is like the energy of someone who just goes and like is going so fast that they're not really like understanding like what they're doing anymore. They're just kind of doing, they're acting without thinking, right? And it makes sense when you think about like what I've been talking about with honesty and truth and stuff coming to the surface. Queen of Cups, like, you guys are in your emotions about this stuff, right? Again, normally Queen of Cups, very very positive, very much like someone who's like in control of their emotions and has their feelings on lockdown. But like, I feel like the combination of these two cards is kind of suggesting that like the emotions that this is bringing up are not like constructive, right? Like, now all of this can be interpreted in a super like positive way. Like, yeah, you're going for it, Taurus. Like, yeah, like you're going for your dream job and you're chasing it, and like, look at you, all balanced and center. But that's not the, like, I wanted to turn them upside down because it's almost like, I don't really reversed, but like these energies would be like a reversed in a reading where you had the block, like it's blocked. Like, it's like the less desirable aspects of these elements, of these energies. And so, like, last time we were talking about getting strong and standing on your own 2 feet, Taurus, I think, like, this Libra energy is going to maybe make you have to get support. To tap into your support system. Right? Because when we have the full moon in your sign next month, like, we talked about this last time, we're going to have potential for, like, forward movement. But, like, while you're all mixed up and confused and in your feelings, like, you need something to ground you. Like, what we've been talking about, the Tower, like, things coming up that like maybe you were blocking out or didn't want to think about, or this kind of came up for Aries a little earlier, like there's this sort of denial that's happening, or maybe not denial but for you guys, but sort of a lack of recognition of like a need, right? Or something that's going to shake everything loose so hard that like it's going to be hard for you to ignore. And if this isn't about like your career directly, I have a strong sense it's about finances, right? Like something happening where it makes you realize like you're not as financially independent or secure as you maybe thought you were. And that like scares the fuck out of you. You know what I mean? Because like you've been this fucked for sorry, but like maybe you've been this a little bit too long. Just like, just kind of like taking leaps and like trying things and like not really thinking it out too long and hard, or like you think it out but you're so overwhelmed by this spirit, this gusto to just like, yeah, I'm gonna do it, that maybe, you know, your ducks weren't all in a row. Maybe you didn't have like enough of a like backup savings, for instance, to like launch your own business, and now you're like realizing you're hard up for rent. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's gonna bring up a lot of like feelings. Like, it makes sense. I had the sense that Taurus is gonna maybe be a little disappointed with themselves. And what's the implication of like all this truth and honesty and like awareness of shit that hasn't been like on the forefront of your mind? Like, what's the implication of that? Is that like you've been kind of living untrue, right? Like, you have the opposite situation here where like, sorry, I do this in front of a window because that's where my room is, and I get very distracted when people like stare at me. But I mean, obviously there's this guy like talking to a phone, dealing cards in front of this giant window. Anyway, I lost my train of thought, Taurus, I'm sorry. Anyway, point being, the implication of stuff coming up to the surface is that there's stuff that hasn't been acknowledged, right? And I feel foremost it's with money, but it can be relationships, right? But I think for you right now, the focus isn't to like think about whether or not your relationships are working out. Like some of the other signs, like they had to get real honest about their relationships. I don't think that's you guys right now. I feel like it's more important that you get honest about like what the fuck you're doing with your time. Like, is your energy well invested? Is it paying off? Or are you just like building false foundations, false towers that fall down? Like the eye at the top of the tower, that's all about like the element of this card is like epiphanies and revelations, right? That's what brings the tower falling down. These lightning bolts are like these moments, these flashes of holy shit that just bring you falling down, you know what I mean? And then we have the Seven of Pentacles. Like it's not paying off, Taurus. Like whatever it is you're doing, it's not working. Seven of Pentacles can go a lot of different ways for me. But just like right now, like it's almost like this is the ideal, this is what you think you should have and what you should be doing, but like this is what you're actually getting. Like shit on the vine that never really like gets to that point. And like you're waiting, but like you're waiting, but it's like you're not. How do I put this? And I don't want to be like too much of a dick the way I say this, Taurus. So if it comes across wrong, don't take it the wrong way. But like, it's like you're not doing anything. Let me put that a little more gently and give you some credit, right? Maybe it's like you're not doing as much as you think you are. Is that more fair? Does that make sense? Because like I don't think you guys are doing nothing. But you know how sometimes like getting real emotional and getting like all up in your feels like kind of just throws you off, and like it's hard sometimes when you're not feeling good to really like focus and move forward and like in a real way. You spin your wheels a lot. You know, you daydream and fantasize and think about the things and like what's gonna happen once this changes and what if, and then like you're just left there waiting around, Taurus. I feel like you're waiting. Like this card is Saturn in Taurus, like difficult teachings to your sign about like the material reality of your life. Feel me? You feeling me, Taurus? I said a lot of nice shit about you guys last time, so if you take a little offense, like fucking deal with it, because you know like how I feel about you. Right? And if you don't, go watch the other video and like it and comment and all that good stuff. No, but seriously, like don't take it the wrong way what I'm saying, because you guys are like a workhorse when you're at your best. Like you can just like fill the world in your life with so much riches, like emotionally satisfying riches. That's what I like about Taurus. Like as an earth sign, it's still very warm feeling, you know, very not focused on the emotions, but like very kind of sensual and emotional in a way, right? You're paying attention kind of to like the inner world in a way that like maybe the other earth signs, Virgo and Capricorn, don't do as well. Know what I mean? Taurus. So, you know, I just felt like stop being stubborn. Like that came into my head right now. I don't know why, but I guess you can relate it to this, right? Like bad investments, like when I said about waiting for stuff, like sometimes you do have to cut and run a little bit. But like what I want to say is like to use this energy correctly. not to just run around in circles haphazardly, but like if there are things you need to separate from, like do it with gusto. Like do it with this energy. Like if you're going to have this force behind you, if you're going to have, like he's like a strong gust of wind, right? Like look at him, his hair is flapping in the wind, like he's got that sword raised high, ready to go. Right? And look what's in the eagle's mouth, what's guiding them? Two butterflies tied to a string. That just kind of represents like the intuition, the instincts, like how delicately, how fragile and small the voice that's guiding you can be, right? But it's still being guided. So that needs to be you guys. Like if you're going to be this person, and you should be to an extent, like you have to listen to your inner voice. And how perfect we're talking about like getting in touch with your needs and improving your relationship with yourself, and truth and honesty kind of coming to the surface. But like you can't be this if like you can't like be quiet and gentle enough to follow the guidance of these like soft little butterflies. Do you know, does that make sense, Taurus? Like it makes sense to me. I hope you get it. Like I see that. Like it makes sense for everything we're talking about astrologically, and then what the cards are showing here. Like last time I said get strong, this time I want to say like get quiet. Like internally quiet. One path we have here, the Nine of Cups. Like your wish is fulfilled. Like these things are becoming real, and like you're feeling like the benefit of it. It's starting to feel really good. And that's what Taurus is like all those things I said about being sensual and like paying attention to the inner world. A lot of it is just about like feeling good. Feeling good about what you do, feeling good about like how you spend your time. It doesn't have to be, again, the dream job. It just has to be like something that makes you feel satisfied and fulfilled. Like that you're not wasting your energy, you're not wasting your time, or you don't go to work like feeling like ass or coming home feeling like ass. Like just as a rule. Not like we don't all have days, but like every day is a struggle. Like, Taurus, what are you doing? And then you're also not making enough money on top of it. Like, that sucks. And then here we have the Star. The Star's been coming up a lot lately. I think this is a good, like, indication of exactly, even though these planets are in, like, maybe a little difficult alignment, like, what it's pushing us through. Like, what it's aligning us with. Like, is it difficult? Sure. But what happens? What do we get from it? But, you know, Taurus, to be honest, like, my immediate reaction to this was so good, and I don't want to backpedal on that. But, like, as I'm talking about it, this again feels like blocked energy. Like, remember how I was saying, like, these cards could be read reversed in a way? Because it feels blocked. Like, this card, in its more negative senses, could be also the same thing about, like, lack of fulfillment or lack of satisfaction. But, like, the water in this image to me right now, it's all flowing. Like, that's what it shows, and that's like the context I'm getting here is of the flow of it. Like, things are moving and they're feeling good. Like, this one was like, oh yay, the Star, and then I was like, oh, but like you see how she's holding that the Star in her hand, the angel? Like, my sense of this was like being blocked. Like that thing being covered up. which is not typically how I see this card, but for right now, like, that's the angle I'm getting. Which sucks, because this is such, like, a happy, like, I love to see this. I love to see this card so much. Like, look at the bright energy there. But, like, Taurus, like... Bottom of the deck, Ace of Wands. This is good. To me, this feels like fuel to the fire. To me, this is speaking of, like, a latent underlying ambition. And not just necessarily in the ruthless, like, airy kind of swords way of ambition, but, like, wanting to feed your soul, wanting to feed yourself, wanting to, like, be happy and fulfilled. So that's encouraging, because to me that's saying that, like, the desire is there. Like, you can change, but this desire has to be there. And I think it's there for you guys. No? And, like, when your full moon comes around, I want you to be, like, sexy balls. Like, that sounds, that wasn't the right kind of that I meant to say there. Or maybe it was, I don't know. But, like, I pulled an outcome card, and what do we got? The Ace of Wands, like, again. Like, it went from the bottom of the deck to the top of the deck. Weird. I've never experienced that before. That's fucking cool, Taurus. What is this saying? Like, the force is with you, you motherfuckers. Like, hello. Like, you see all that fire? You see all that growth? Do you feel the energy, that, like, the aliveness of this card? Fucking dope. So what that says to me is, like, that stuff that I just said was underlying everything. Like, I'm gonna look at it very literally and say, like, that stuff is coming out. Like, that ambition and all that stuff. Like, when you get in touch with your needs and you start to respect them, like, what's good about signs like yours that have, like, these high self-esteem is that you guys are able, like, once you're in touch with, like, feeling good, like, you can do good. It's easy for you to, like, do well for yourself because you're just in that headspace of, like, wanting to give to yourself because you care. Two of Wands. Choices. Taurus. This feels to me like where things get difficult for you guys. Like, assuming you're doing the work that I'm talking about, it shouldn't be difficult in the sense that, like, it's hard to get in touch with what it is you want, but, like, that's where, to me, like, the hard action is. You know what I mean? That's where you have to, like, say, okay, I'm in touch with what I want and who I am and what I need, but, like, now I gotta do something about it. Like, right after the Ace of Wands, we have the Two of Wands. So, like, all this energy in the Ace, that fiery, like, ready to go ambition, this is it, like, okay, now what? and you have to. Like, I don't feel like this is, like, a lot of times I feel like this is a stationary card of, like, taking a moment and figuring it out. But, like, for you guys right now, this feels like just, like, the last step before you go. Like, that's what's suggested in this card to me right now, is, like, the promise of, like, you're imminently moving forward and, like, making this decision. Like, when I put the cards down, and I'll be able to show you guys when I get the right setup, the layout, but, like, it fell right on top of this card. Like, this is that, like, action I was talking about. Like, a lot of times for me, the Two of Wands is about, like, the gut instinct and getting in touch with, like, what you feel is right and, like, what's driving you from this very deep place. And, like, what did I say about the butterflies? Like, this is this energy, like, going really well. I like that. That's, like, that's cool. This has been, like, a cool reading, guys. Like, I'm enjoying, I mean, I always enjoy it, but, like, there's just, like, some cool stuff that's been popping out. Like, little coincidences. Here we get the Four of Swords. Beautiful. Like, these outcome cards, guys, are all fantastic. Four of Swords, peace of mind, peace of soul. Like, this is, to me, like, someone who made the right decision. Do you know what I mean? Like, you followed this and you acted on it, and then, like, this is what, like, you get. Nah, I mean, like, this is great. Like, what did we start off saying with you guys? Like, this kind of emotional tumultuousness, like how you don't do well in your feelings. This is, like, overcoming that. This is, like, being at peace with your feelings. It's swords, but, like, it's still very, like, grounded and calm. And that's great. I think that's a great sign for you. So, you know, to summarize, Taurus, like, you have to get out of your feelings. How do you do that? The support that I was talking about before, like, depending on people who you trust and care about and you can be open with. Like, cutting, like, the shit, like, when you realize something is not working, like, you have to cut it. Cut it. Cut it. Price is way too high, you need to cut it. Anyway. See what I'm saying? And then, like, the outcome cards, it's just showing, like, the promise. Like, there's not even really that much advice there. It's kind of just showing, like, where things are going to end up. And it's super, super, super positive and encouraging. And, you know, like, sometimes the two different pathway cards, like the Star and the Nine of Cups, like, this is maybe only being interpreted negatively because this is sort of what's more imminently being asked for. You know, like, the implication of all of what we're saying is, like, this thing that's kind of, like, covered up, like, shining outwards, right? When you can get here and you can act on this, like, this part of you starts to shine. When you direct your, like, ambition and energy in the right way, like, not only do you get emotional fulfillment, but, like, then when you have that fulfillment, like, this is where you end up. And I want you guys to, like, get here. I really want, this feels like Taurus would be so happy when they have this. You know, like, when you have that, like, sense of purpose in, like, your material life. And you can provide for yourself, where you feel good about what you do every day. Like, it's not just about, like, the kind of job you have. It's, like, about how what you do makes you feel. And how you feel about yourself. It's time to make some changes, Taurus. But, like, I'm also going to go back to that butterfly from before. It's time to get in touch with, like, your instincts and your needs and, like, that deep down inside voice. Like, you have to give attention to your inner world, Taurus. Like, you have to water yourself. And for this card is usually like promising, encouraging one, and it still is, but right now I feel like this is sort of like a calling on you. This is sort of like saying, Taurus, change your ways. Like, you have the potential to be a butterfly. You have to, this is going to get like real corny metaphors, but like, you have to like get in touch with that. That's your potential, and then you can make the changes to become it. Like, by the full moon in your sign next month, like, you should be a little closer to like this fulfilling work, right? At least there, I know it's only like 2 weeks, but there at least has to be a step, Taurus. Like, there has to be a significant step in some way. Like, you can't do nothing. You can't. Then I'll say, yeah, like, Taurus, you're not doing anything. But like, with this much energy here, like, I don't think that's going to be the case. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it will be. Okay. Taurus, I feel like you're carrying a lot of baggage. Like, something is here telling me that, like whatever this revelation is, whatever this trauma that you are going to like have to face, like, it could quite literally come from your childhood, which I feel for a lot of you. This could go just like, it feels like family. It feels like family baggage. You know, maybe things that are like put on you by other people, the people you care about, like that feeling of, you know, you're carrying somebody's shit and you didn't realize it. Like a mother or somebody or parent. You know, like, this is kind of the weight of that. This isn't always a bad card. I mean, it's a little creepy looking, but it just represents like where you came from. And right now, with what we're talking about, I feel like there's some stuff from like your past and from your family. I feel very specifically like your family that is like keeping you from fully getting there. Joy. Beautiful, right? Like, super nice. Like, I feel like this was like a little bit of like a Debbie Downer card in the middle of like this nice stuff. But that just is like, goes to show that this, you don't get here without doing the work and like actively releasing. It's funny because somebody commented recently where they're like, oh, everybody's saying to like let go of the past, but I want to go back to it. And that's like a very sweet sentiment, and I get how like the whole let go of the past thing sounds like very cliche, like new agey, fluffy nonsense sometimes. But also just like, you can't be something new, you can't be something different. And to me, just like, life is about, like, I always think if you're not evolving, you're just dying. Right? If you're not like changing, if you're not improving, then all you're doing is like dying, because like your body is just like slowly, like they say, like you start to die the moment you're born. Kind of a weird thing to think, but like, my point being here is like, you have to be able to change. Like, it's impossible to live your life happily if like this is just always defining you. Like, Taurus, I really feel strongly like you have some like family baggage. It could be, some people say it's like genetic karma, like stuff that just passes down through your bloodline, like energetically. But I also feel like, oof, like this is like an angry or like bitter person that you're close with, just like spreading their like grossness to you until you like take it on, till you're like feeling their fears, and you're like, where did I get this from? And last we have the horse for travel. Like, figuratively move away from this shit, but also like I don't feel like a move for a lot of people, but I do feel like not travel, I mean a change of scene. That's what I wanted to say. In some way, there's some kind of change of scene that I feel. Like the literal idea would be like physically moving, but I think it's like going to a new job and getting a new office. Like something about your day-to-day routine, like that wasn't working or was standing in the way of this. Like this right now is like both what like moving forward like leads to, but also like what is inspiring you to like make those changes, right? Like you're moving towards happiness. Like when you get to the other side of this, there's this, and you're like, holy shit, I want that. Like, let me go get it. And at the bottom of the deck, the trees. Like, what did I say from the beginning about like leaning on your support systems? Like letting other people take care of you a little bit. Like, I know you guys like that. You do it for other people, and I think you want it done to you. But you have to like ask for it. Like no one can know that you need help unless you're like telling them that you do. Like you can't do that, Taurus. You can't just like expect someone to read your mind and know that you need something when you're not articulating it. Like that's not fair. And then like you lose out too, guys, like because now your needs are unfulfilled too, and now you feel bad, and now like you probably made them feel bad, and like but like that's a couple steps ahead, right? We're talking about other people, like it's really right now about you and yourself. Like I say to every side when I'm telling, lately when I've been telling them to focus on themselves, like don't be a dick. Don't be a selfish, depressed asshole. Like do something about it. Like that's what I want to get in this, like this whole thing is about you guys like doing something about it. Making changes. Like evolving. Facing like the past, facing whatever like shit you're carrying, like and then you move on, and like then you get out of your feelings. Feel me, Taurus? Oh girl, you guys are awesome. Like it's weird for such a stable sign to get like so unbalanced emotionally, but it kind of makes sense when you think about like Venus being your ruling planet. It's a very like internal kind of feelings, love, nurturing, like the kind of more abstract things about like material life and being a provider, right? Like things that are hard to put your name on, put a name to, like, or describe. Like, how do you describe love? How do you describe security? How do you describe nurturing? Alright, Taurus. Well, I'm gonna maybe do you guys first next time because The full moon is in your sign, and I think it's going to be a special time. But like, I still want to say it again, like, don't do nothing. Like, it's not going to be a special time for you if you haven't been doing the work so that it becomes one of those for you. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just going to be handed to you. And I think you know that. Like, it's obvious to you, you guys work. But, like, come outside of yourself. Like with that Queen of Cups, like, don't drown in that shit. Don't drown in your sadness and your muck. Like, don't do it. Like, I know it's hard. Sometimes you don't know how to deal with it, but like, find a way. Like, talk to a friend, like community, right? Like, think about who you are and what you want. Like, do the reflection. Like, take the time to reflect. You know? Take the time to process all those things that are coming up, bubbling up to the surface. Okay? All right, Taurus. It's been real, and peace out.